ese hombre holding up the bottle. Look a little closer, cigar and Moscato. An actor in improv coming from Chicago. Alto, make way for Paul Vato.
Hello, Mr. Cluse.
Are we here? Are we actually on here? We're doing this?
We are on. Wow. We are on Fireside, the platform, and we are live.
So exciting.
We haven't technically started the show, but you know.
So exciting, though.
Very exciting. I think I was so excited, I put my shirt on crooked.
Oh, no.
But I didn't have a camera to guide me, so you look freshly showered.
I am freshly showered and freshly shit as well. So
I saw a sign in Mexico that said exit X hour X Ave, and couldn't figure out what they were trying to say, you know, but the X is pronounced like a sh. So it was shower shave.
Yeah. You know, you don't want to mix those up.
No. Unless you're in one of those. Are there some of those bathrooms where you can do all three? You can shower in your bathroom, and I know some boats have that, and some.
I actually have that in my house. I have a shower right in my bathroom.
That's weird.
I know. It's New Jersey, man.
Wow, Jersey. Well, I think we can start the show, and even if there are not a lot of people in the audience, the nice thing, Chris, is that it's recorded.
Yeah.
So it lives on the platform, and we get a lot of replays. Is usually what the case is. So and we can go as long as you'd like, as short as you'd like. It's funny because it just happened that both you and Joe Stapleton, whom you know, pretty much picked the same day and very close in time. So
he's right here. He's with me.
I had a feeling about you two.
Yeah, he's shuffling the cards right now.
Shuffle up and deal. That's wonderful. So let's welcome everyone. Welcome everyone that's here. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We're also broadcasting to Twitch, Facebook, and YouTube at the same time. At least that's the plan. It's supposed to be going to YouTube as well. So we're simulcasting to the metaverse as well. Wow. And I know that you understand all these things perfectly.
I do, because I'm very young.
You look very young, and you look great.
Very old. Very old.
That was very funny what you said, that the microphone was enabled, but you were disabled. That brilliant.
I'm disabled, and so here we are.
Hi, welcome. Thank you for taking time out of your.
It's a long time since I've spoken to you.
It really has. It has. It was since the MADtv days, I'm guessing. And then, were you there through the end of MADtv, or did you leave before? Because I left before as well.
I left after the 2006 season, I think. And I think it still had about 2 or 3 more to go beyond that. But the show deteriorated the moment I left.
You know what? It really did.
Yeah.
And I think that was part of the reason.
It had nothing to do with me. Well, a lot, but not everything. You know.
I mean, my goodness, the sketches that you would write. But you know what? Maybe we'll go back and I listened to the podcast that you recently did with the SCTV people.
Yes,
that was fun. I feel like if people really want to get your whole history, and especially if they're interested in SCTV, that's an amazing podcast. Not to send anyone away from here after this podcast, listen to that. But they were it was great, that history. So I want to touch on that, but then also, of course, all the other wonderful things that you've done, and a little bit maybe about your background. I know that you're from New York. Were you actually born? You were born in New York?
I was born on. I was born on the Upper East Side of Manhattan at Lenox Hill Hospital on March the 7th at 12:52.
Wow, wonderful.
A.M. I was an inconvenient baby.
An inconvenient baby.
Yeah.
And what were your parents like? Because you have this incredible comedic mind. Do you get that from them, do you think? Or is that something that you can learn along the way? Or do you think a lot of it had to do with your upbringing or your family or things
Well,
like that?
I think it has to do with your genealogy. I really do. I think funny is in the genes. you know, and I look really funny in these jeans. And that's the worst joke I would ever done in my life. And I apologize for anyone who suffered through it. My parents, my mother was, to every guy, their mother was a saint. My mother was a saint, you know, and she's just the greatest, the greatest person I ever knew in my life. She was funny. She could sing like a diva. She was cute as hell, and she was my mom. But that's where I think from that side of the family came a lot of the humor. That's Irish, that side. So there was a lot of laughs, a lot of, you know, between moments of resentment, there was, you know, laughter. And then on the other side, my dad, another very funny guy, but he was a cop in New York. So, yeah, so he had a lot of kind of tales of the street that he told in a very funny fashion. And I will say one thing: my dad passed away in 2016, and towards the end of his life, he actually said to me, he said, "You know, I never told you this, but you made me laugh." And I thought, gee, that's really nice. And then I realized he was, you know, talking about my everyday life when I was trying to live my life. Everything I did was seemingly hilarious to him. So, but I would say all of my genetic stuff definitely had something to do with the fact that I also see life in a very skewed way. You know, when I was a kid, we lived on East 67th Street, directly across the street from Sloan Kettering Memorial Hospital, which is the East Coast's biggest cancer hospital. And from my window on the sixth floor walk up of a 7th-floor walk up building, we lived on the 6th floor. Groceries were fun. But when I looked out my window as a child, I looked directly out onto a deck an outdoor deck on the hospital, and it was filled with kids who had cancer, and it was such a dark vision to me. I mean, I would look out the window and see all these dying children, and that's the way I grew up. So I think then my grandmother got sick when I was 10. I mean, terribly ill, and my mom took care of her, and she lived in the same apartment building, and I watched her wither away. And I seemed to have a lot of black times in my early life that I think led me to a kind of an I don't really give a shit view of things for a long time. Yeah, for a long time, I was just, you know, the darker the comedy could be, the more I liked it, you know. And
I can relate. Those are, and besides, those are some hilarious stories. So no, I'm kidding.
I mean, the kids dying. Yeah, I know. It's just, you hold yourself. You're laughing so hard. Yeah. But ironically, I ended up in that hospital in 2019, and from my room, I could see where my old apartment building was. It torn down. 2 or 3 have been torn down by this time. So, you know, there I was. I also had cancer. And so this is a fun interview.
Wow. No, it really is. But it's funny how life is cyclical. You know, you start out looking at the hospital and then you end up looking at where you're.
I'll tell you a story that relates to space and time in that exact area. For a while, I was in an organization called the United States Navy. And for a short time, I was stationed in New York City at a naval hospital. I was a hospital corpsman, and I was working in the emergency room. And I got to know one of the doctors very well, and we would kibitz and we'd laugh and stuff. And so one day he said, "Hey, you know, I was telling my wife about you." And she wants to know if he can come for dinner on Friday. And I said, oh, free, of course, I'll be there. So after our shift is over, we jump in his car and we drive from St. Albans, Queens, out to the 59th Street Bridge into Manhattan. And as we're going over the bridge, I look to my right, and that was my old neighborhood down there. And I said, oh, this is where I grew up. And he said, oh, no, we live, I used to be affiliated. I'm affiliated with the hospital and blah, 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 blah. So we go up York Avenue and make a left on 67th Street. Now, that's the street I grew up on. Okay. And then we go up about 2/3 of the way to the street where there's a schoolyard, which was always there. And then there's a building which I'd never seen before. And he pulls his car into the subterranean garage of the building. And I think, this is exactly where my building was. This is precisely where the building was. So I'm telling him how amazed I am by this. We get in the elevator. He's kind of amazed by it too. We get in the elevator. We go up to the whatever floor it was. And we get out of the elevator. And his wife is there, got the door open. She's waiting to greet us. And we greet and say hello. And then I come in and she says, why don't you sit? And I sit and I look out the window. It's exactly the same view I had when I was a child. Precisely the same view in a different building. Which is just
That's amazing.
Yeah, that is amazing. Yeah. It was so amazing I stole stuff from them.
Well, good, because you know what? They took your land. Now you get back a little something from them.
Yeah, I felt like, an indigenous person. I can now relate.
Now you can relate. Because is very similar.
When you got the same view in a different building, you got screwed.
That's right. That's right. But wow, what I mean, no, that really is amazing that you would end up in the exact same space, really.
Precisely the same space, yeah.
The same space.
That was fun. Goodbye.
Okay, well, thank you for all the laughs. So then you, and thank you for your service as far as.
Oh, you're very welcome.
Did you ever go to Chicago? Because I know that there's a big naval base.
I actually did boot camp there at
Great
Lakes. Yeah, they call it Great Mistakes.
Great Mistakes.
Yeah, I went to boot camp there. Oh, thank God, please. Yeah, I did, and I was there during the not to date myself, but I was there during the Chicago 7 trial. And on Saturdays, if we had the day off, I would jump on the Metro train and take it down by the Federal Building in the Loop, and sit and just have a hot dog and watch Nazis march around all day. So that was, went right into my life. It was perfect. We had hippies and Nazis, and it was almost like a musical. It was fantastic.
It sounds like an amazing musical, and I want to talk to you about musicals. Hopefully, we'll get to that as far as musical.
Well, if you want me to sing, I only have a few things prepared, so let me know.
Anything from Gershwin the musical?
No, I couldn't get the rights. So
got it.
Anyway,
so then, did you go to university or college, or what happened then after the Navy, or how did you end up getting into the world of comedy? And I think you have an amazing origin story, which I'd read about before, and.
You want to hear that?
I do really want to hear that story about submitting your.
Okay.
But was there something in between there, or how did you get into, I guess, into the world of comedy? What was your first comedy job, or were you just?
Well, when I got out of the Navy, I mean, when I was a kid, I wanted to be an actor, but I lived in a very tough neighborhood where anything you did was considered homosexual, unless it was, you were committing a crime, then you were okay. It was all right. But if you had any artistic kind of calling or feeling, the peer pressure was horrifying. Because I hung out with a bunch of nice guys, but everybody was a tough guy in the neighborhood, and it was a tough neighborhood. And so, I kind of worked my way away from that. And then when I was in the Navy, I started to write letters. I started writing a lot of letters, and I actually had a girlfriend who is now a very prominent person in the United States of America, and I cannot name her because I can't remember. But I used to write her letters, and she would delight in them because they were just an odd view of my life, you know, as I was sitting in these different places in the world. And so she really was the one who inspired me to think about being a writer. You know, I was always a big reader. As a matter of fact, on one of my missions, I had brought Vonnegut's Slaughterhouse-Five with me to read, and as I read it, I was envisioning it as a film. So I wrote my first screenplay when I was probably 20 years old in the Navy, and it was awful. It was just the worst. I mean, it was horrifying. I had no idea about anything. I was basically transcribing the book, you know. But it did ignite in me an interest to do that. So when I came out of the Navy, I was looking for a job, and I happily found, now there's a difference between today and 1973 when I got out of the Navy. I decided I wanted to work in television. So I went to 6th Avenue in Manhattan, and CBS, NBC, and ABC were all kind of lined up next to each other. Rockefeller Center and Black Rock for CBS, and the ABC building on, I think, 55th Street. And I sort of did the eeny, meeny, miny, mo thing and came up on CBS. And went into CBS and said to the guard, I said, I'd like to be in television. And he says, 20. So that was easy. It was really easy. So I get in the elevator. I go to 20, and that's what they used to call personnel. They now call human resources. And I'm introduced to this very lovely human being, and she says, well, let me in. So she interviews me for a job, what my interests are, and I don't know, I just want to be in television, you know. So she said, you know, fills out all these papers. We fill out papers, and then she says, the only thing you need to do now is to take a typing test. And I said, why would I need to take a typing test? Because I want to be in television. I don't want to be in typing. I want to be in television. And she said, well, I need you to take the typing test because it's procedure. So I said, okay. So I go in a room, this little anteroom off the main office there. And in there are 4 young women who I think just graduated from the Typing Academy of Brooklyn. And their hair is like way up high, and it's 1973, and they're chewing gum. And so I sit down. I barely can figure out how to put the paper in the electric typewriter. Girl turns it on for me, so I hear the now familiar hum. And then there's a booklet in front of it with a leather cover, and on a bell goes off, and you're supposed to open the cover and begin typing whatever's there. So I opened the cover when the bell goes off, and it sounded like a machine gun range. These girls were hitting those keys so hard, and I'm got that one wrong. You know, it's over. The girls turn in their work, and I leave. I just leave because I'm so humiliated by typing. So I go to my parents' house where I'm staying, and about an hour after I get there, phone rings, and it's the woman from CBS who's so nice, and she says, "Where did you go?" I said, "Well, I humiliated myself on the typing test." She says, "Come in, we'll get you a non-typing job." That's the difference between now. I mean, that's the personnel person calling me to offer me a job. The world was a different place. So I took a job as a page at CBS because I was good at wearing uniforms. I had done it for 4 years.
Sure.
And that's where I met my wife and my writing partner and most of my best friends. and my writing partner and I started writing together, and now this leads you to the story. That's where we want to go.
Yes, that's exactly where we want to go. And you were in charge of the page department?
I was. I worked my way up to low level. Mm-hmm. And as Woody Allen says in one of his movies, he rocketed to private. That's what I did.
Yeah, it's a great line.
That's from Take the Money and Run.
Yes. Right.
So
Stu, was that your writing partner?
Stu Kreisman, yeah. So he was a nice Jewish boy from Long Island, and I was not. So it was a perfect combination. We looked. He was about, I don't know, maybe 5'8", and I'm 6'4", and we looked ridiculous together, and that was part of the thing that worked for us for a long time. So we started writing together, and we had a job writing commercials for a delicatessen in Atlantic City, New Jersey. So you talk about big time. I mean, that was big time. I think we got $50. We produced the commercials ourselves and acted in them. And when the owner heard them, he threw them in the trash and hated us and demanded his $50 back. So we said it was artistic license and he could fucking die. And so that's what happened. He died. He died like a month later. So I was afraid that it was my fault, but if it was, c'est la vie. So we had been working together for a while, and we started writing sketches because we had seen National Lampoon Lemmings, and we had seen El Grande de Coca-Cola, and a number of these sketch shows that were going on. And Second City came to New York for a thing. We saw that, and we said, "Dad, this is really what we should be doing." So after maybe 6 months of writing sketches together in the evening, because we were roommates as well. So we were writing sketches together, and along comes Saturday Night Live. And we see it, and thank you. And I call him on Sunday morning, and I said, "Did you see that last night?" He was somewhere. And he said, "Yeah." I said, all those sketches we wrote, we ought to bring them there, and they should give us jobs. So the theme here is give me a job, I think, is what I'm talking to you about.
And you're willing to walk right in there and go, "Give me a job."
What are you going to do? I mean, if you sit outside, they're not going to go, "Oh, I think he wants a job." You have to let them know. So we go. Now we go back to NBC instead of CBS, and there's a guard at the door, and downstairs. And I said, I can handle this. I know how to do this. I've done this already. So I go up to the guy and say, "Hi," because the show was called NBC Saturday Night. It was not called Saturday Night Live.
Right.
The original, when it first started, was called NBC Saturday Night because Howard Cosell had a show on ABC called Saturday Night Live with Bill and Brian Doyle Murray. Unbelievable. So we go. So I say to the guy, Saturday night, NBC Saturday Night, and he looks at me as if I've come from another planet, because the concept of space and time to him now is, it's his Monday morning. What are you talking about? And the other guy sitting next to him doing the crossword puzzle says, "Oh, they're on 3." So we say, okay, now I know he has to explain to the other guy who's on 3. Okay, so we go to 3, and there's all these guys pushing furniture around. And later I discover Al Franken is pushing a chair, and Chevy's pushing something going this way. And I see a lot of them turned out to be cast members. And so we go and we turn in our work, and no one wants to take it. We're finally led to a woman named Kathy Minkowski. I will remember her name forever. And she was so nice to us and put up with our nonsense. We come to her, and it turns out she's Lorne Michaels' assistant. And we say, "Hi, we have this book of incredibly funny things, and we would like you to read it and then give us jobs."
Sure.
So she says, "You can't, no. we can't do that because no, we don't, we can't, because you have to submit it through your agent. I say we don't have an agent. She says, see, there's the catch-22. So thank you for coming in, though. We appreciate it. Watch the show Saturday nights at 11:30. I said, no, we really want to, we should have jobs because look at us. Look how cute we are. We're cute. We're funny. Come on. Tall and short. Come on. Everything you need in a person is going on there.
Jewish, not Jewish. Come on.
Jewish, not Jewish. Yeah. So not only not Jewish, Catholic. So Jewish and Catholic. So, she says, the Pope thanks you for that. He's not getting a lot of that lately. So so we say but we can't, you have to take this. It's important to us. And she says, but if I do keep it, I will have to put it in the trash because you could sue us. And I thought, now I have to get a lawyer? If I don't have an agent, I don't have a lawyer, how am I ever going to be in comedy? So we left it with her.
Knowing that, did you only have one copy?
We had one copy. We never made a copy, nothing. We just had, well, no, this was on standard typewriter. So we had carbon copies. We had carbon paper copies. Yeah. So if the only person that could read that is like a seeing eye dog, he can read that. No one else in the world can read carbon paper, but that's what we have. But we are so desperate to be on this show that we say, we're going to leave this with you. And she says, I beg you, please don't do that because I'm going to have so. And I had no belief that this was going to happen. And then we get to the elevator. Now we're going back down. And he looks at me before I can say to him, he says, we're dead. We're dead. We got to go look for other jobs because that's not going to happen. So we go back to CBS where we're working and like administrative jobs. And day's over. He's got a car. He lives on Long Island now. So I'm going to ride to the subway station in his car. And as we drive down 57th Street, we stop just off the corner of 7th Avenue, and he's talking, and I'm literally sitting there like this, just listening to him blather on about stuff, and I'm so sad, But I look past him, and I see a door open up in like an old office building that's there. Door opens up, a red door, I'll never forget. The red door opens up, and out steps Danny Aykroyd and John Belushi and Garrett Morris, who was one of the three original cast members. And they walk directly in front of our car and they get in a taxi. And he looks at me and he says, that's the guy from the show. I said, those are all the guys from the show. Follow that cab. Honest to God, follow that cab.
When did you get a chance to say that though? That's
how are you now in a real situation? Like in a movie. It's what it was like. It was like in a movie. So he did a good job. He followed the cab, makes the right turn on Fifth Avenue. We make the right turn on Fifth Avenue, right behind them. And he's saying to me, I'm driving, so you have to do something. So I said, I'll figure out something. So they pull in front of the Atlas statue by Rockefeller Center, and we pull up right behind them. Now, when we pull up behind the cop, this is just before Thanksgiving. The crowds are like this on Fifth Avenue. That's what you see. People, just people. So he says, if you're ever going to make an impression on anybody, do it now. And the cop is telling him to move. So I get out of the car and he has to leave. So as he's leaving, I'm stepping forward, stepping through these people like this, and they're paying the cabbie. So I finally get past them, and I step out, and as they're coming out of the cab, at the top of my lungs, I say, "Stop! I'm not going to hurt you." Here's what they heard. "I'm going to hurt you." Belushi falls back against the cab. Garrett Morris is like what? And Aykroyd's going to fight me. He's a tough guy. So he's going to fight me. And I said, no. So I tell him, Kathy Minkowski, I saw guys pushing furniture. We gave them the book. She said that she was going to throw it away. But we said, how could you throw it away? Because it's so brilliant. And I tell him the whole story. Now, while this is going on, Stu is he just keep going around. You know, he's got to go back to 6th Avenue, back to 5th Avenue, back to 6th Avenue. He sees me jabbering with it. So the three of them sit there and they listen to this. And Aykroyd hands me a card and a pen. He says, write your phone number down. So I write my phone number down. I give it to him. They go in the building, and Belushi turns to me and smiles and says, you're an asshole. And then he goes,
yeah, I'm going to hurt you. I'm going to hurt you.
I'm going to hurt you. So I get in the car, and he says, what happened? And I said, I tell him, you know, and he said, well, wow. 11:30 that night, in my kitchen, phone rings, and it's Danny. And Danny says, hey, listen, I found your stuff in the trash. And I've read through some of it. And I got to say, a lot of it is shit. I said, thanks for calling.
Yeah.
And he said, but some of it's okay. So why don't you guys come in after your real jobs tomorrow? Just come up to NBC. And we did. And we were there every night for 2 weeks. The second and third weeks of the show with Richie Pryor, and I forget who the other guy was. And so Dan gave us notes on the sketches that he liked the most. And we did rewrites so he could give them to Lorne. And Lorne said, we're not hiring anybody right now because I don't know if we're going to last another week. So he picked up the phone and he called Sean Kelly at National Lampoon magazine. And he said, I think I have 2 guys for you. And I quit my regular job about 2 weeks later, and we went to work for National Lampoon. And it was all because of Dan. Now, this was in 1975. In 1982, I was at the Emmy Awards for SCTV the night we won. Mm-hmm. And sitting directly behind me was Catherine O'Hara and her date, Dan Aykroyd. And I turned to him and I said, I don't know if you remember me or him. He's over there too somewhere. And he didn't. But then I refreshed his memory and he said, you're here for the show? And I said, yeah. And I said, and it really has a great deal to do with you. So thanks. And then we became great friends and we actually did 3 projects together.
That's amazing. He is such a nice guy.
He's a great guy.
I've been fortunate enough. I first met him. I'm like, hey, how do I turn this? How do I make this about me? No. I first met him.
Go ahead.
I first met him when a friend got hired at Saturday Night Live. So in like 97, 98, I went to his first show. And at the after party, well, Danny reprised his role of 2 wild and crazy guys. Steve Martin. They set it up brilliantly. Chris Kattan and Will Ferrell were doing their Night at the Roxbury guys, and the sketch was tanking. Yeah, but it was set up that way because then all of a sudden the audience is like, oof, like this is bad. Then all of a sudden the audience parts and there's Dan Aykroyd and Steve Martin and the whole audience just goes insane. So at the after party, I was the night that some guy from New York Yankee pitched a no-hitter. So like 97, 98, I forget what his name was.
David Cohn.
Maybe.
No, David Wells.
David Wells.
Big old David Wells, yeah.
David Wells. It was a night because he showed up at the after party and everyone forgot all the celebrities that were there. They were just like, that's David Wells. He just pitched a no-hitter. And so Danny was there with Donna, with his wife. And we were like at a booth, kind of, off to the side, and they were kind of at one of the main tables. And I don't know why when he and Donna stood up, he like kind of waved me over, and I come over. I'm like, yes, sir. And he's like, he goes, we're leaving. If you guys want the table, it was me and my group of improvisers, a few from, we became Barrio Speedwagon. We've been doing the show called
I love that.
Thank you. We were doing a show called Touched by an Anglo, and my friends were like, I saw Lorne Michaels and I gave him a flyer, and they're like, how could you do that? Just go up to him and give him. I'm like, and he looked at it. I remember he looked at it, laughed, got into his limo. So we're at this after party, and Danny, he goes, there's also a full bottle of wine here. He goes, if you guys want it, it's yours. We haven't touched it yet. We're like, yeah, we do. So, and then throughout the years, I've connected with him. He has his Crystal Head vodka, and I have cigars. So we've traded cigars for vodka before. I don't know if that's legal, but he ended up doing events in Vegas and also at my friend's restaurant in Hollywood, Velvet Margarita Cantina, where they had a Velvet Vato there named after me. And and he's always been just such the nicest guy. He gave me his email, and I think at one point I maybe even had his phone number, or at least his assistant's phone number, I seem to remember. But just so sweet.
Yeah, he's a good guy.
How does that happen, though, that you guys just happen to be there, you see him, and if had that not happened, your life would have just been a different trajectory?
Absolutely. I don't know. I don't like. You know what? I don't know if it ever would have gotten on course. It's just circumstances. It's just things that happen. I mean, you've seen it in your own life. Things happen, or things happen because they're supposed to happen, or they just happen. I don't know. I'm not into predetermination that much, but it sure feels that way.
Yeah.
Because the key was him independently picking up the phone and calling Sean over at the Lampoon magazine, because that gave us some credibility, and it actually gave us quite a bit of credibility, because we ended up as contributing editors, and we became fairly important at the book. We were in it every month, and that was a great job. Didn't pay shit, but it got us an agent. It got us a lawyer, and it got us the things I needed to be in show business.
Who was there at the time? Was there any people of note at Lampoon, at National Lampoon? I mean, because I know a lot of
John Hughes.
Sure,
might have heard of him.
I've heard of him.
He's the most prominent. We have PJ O'Rourke, of course, and Sean and Tony Hendra. Pete Kaminsky and Ellis Weiner and Danny Abelson, and really fine comedy minds. It was a great place to be. Ed Sabitsky, the comedian, it was a fabulous experience. That was the most pure writing experience I've ever had.
Now, because that's where like Dan Aykroyd as well. I mean, and Jim and John Belushi came out of, right? Because
they came out of Second City. John came out of Second City, Chicago.
Yes,
and Danny out of Second City, Toronto. But as far as really getting to be known, the cast for that's my dog. The cast for Lemmings. Was Belushi, Chevy Chase, Chris Guest, Alice Playton, the great Alice Playton. Hold on a second. I have to calmly. Shut up! So. Let me hear quiet. Okay, good. I guess the mailman's in the house.
In the house.
Excuse me a second. Copper.
So, folks, thank you guys so much for being here. It's such a pleasure. I'm glad.
All right, we're going to move on, even though the dog's barking.
Okay. He'll calm down. He or she.
He doesn't know this is professional show business.
Oh, great timing.
Yeah. What were we saying?
Well, so then there's National Lampoon, and then let's maybe cut to that Emmy night in '82 or '83 for the second.
82. 82.
Of course, I love reading credits, and I saw Dick Blasucci there, whom I met later on, at MADtv. So it seems like you guys, is that where you met him at Second City?
Yeah, I met him, and he did. I'm going to tell you a funny story. Now, no one's watching this, so I can get away with this. He was our first night in Toronto. Stu and I go up, and we're flying with two other guys. We don't know they're with us, and the two guys, and they look like jerks to us. Look at these jerks. We're flying with jerks. Well, those jerks turned out to be guys we were working with, who I adore now. But that snap judgment, I'm sure they had exactly the same reaction. But anyway, so I had never met Dick before, and he seemed nice enough. I met him, and the first night we're there, Bob Dolman, one of the writers who was married to Andrea Martin at the time, he became a pretty big film director. He says, we're going across the street to the Italian restaurant if you want to join us and kind of meet some people. So, oh, definitely, So we go over to the Italian restaurant, and there's like 8 people there. We sit with them, and I sit next to this woman, this very cute lady, very nice looking person, seemingly very nice person, who's talking about something that I have some knowledge of. She's talking about a seer, S-E-E-R, named Edgar Cayce, C-A-Y-C-E. I love to spell. And she's talking about his mystical powers and all of this stuff. And I had just read a book on him. And I wasn't as rude as I am now. So I waited for a while and then said, if I might interrupt, if I may interject, a lot of what you're saying is not really correct. It's so she goes off on me about, what do I know? And I said, well, I've read this book, and well, I know I've read more than book, and it's just like it's a one-sided argument. I just said that, and then I sat there and she barked at me for a while. And I thought, she's unpleasant, surprisingly unpleasant. She looks pleasant. She's not pleasant. So the evening goes on, and everybody's kind of like, oh, yeah. So we finish dinner, and the next day I go to the office, and I run into Paul Flaherty and Dick Blasucci, who are writing something. And so Dick says, what'd you do last night? What'd you do? Did you go out? I said, yeah, we went to this Italian restaurant across the street. And I met this unpleasant woman. Yeah. His wife. It was his wife. So this is the first conversation I have with him. I call his wife a bitch.
Yep. Yeah, of course.
So he was not fond of me, believe it or not. He was not fond of me for quite a while. Now, it warmed up. But here's the punchline of that story. I'm saying 30 years later, he and I are sitting in a bar together. He's a dear friend. I mean, he and I are very dear friends. I'm sitting in a bar after he's broken up. His marriage is broken up. And having a martini. He's having a drink. He says, Chris, 30 years ago when I said, yeah, you were right.
What a callback.
What a callback. Yeah.
Amazing.
What a callback.
Amazing. And it's funny because you touched on exactly what I kind of wanted to bring up. And these are just like little points, I guess, in comedy that interest me. But you mentioned Paul Flaherty, who I would assume is Joe Flaherty's brother, or related. But there were also other names on that list that there was maybe another Short. Was he related to like Martin Short? And
Michael Short.
Michael Short.
Michael Short is Martin Short's big brother. And I mean big brother. Mike is 6'4", and Marty's about 5'9", 5'2", maybe 4'11". Sure. He's a tiny man. Sure. Michael is a great comedy writer. Great comedy writer. As a matter of fact, he wrote a great deal of Schitt's Creek.
Ah, okay, wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Yeah. And that's
he's as funny as he is on paper. He's just as funny in person, and he's a lovely human being.
Wow, that's wonderful. Yes, please, yeah, give it up for all these brilliant and wonderful comedy writers. But that's always fascinated me like that, because I read the credits and go like, I wonder if they're related. I wonder if they're related.
That's his brother.
And that's wonderful. You know, one's kind of the actor and writer probably, and then the other one's like, you know, let me write, you know, and I'm sure, because I know that you guys were in sketches as well, so I'm sure you could handle it just fine in front of the camera as you can.
Our greatest sketch was the Larry Siegel show, which was Rick Moranis conceived, and it was based on a guy in Hollywood named Joel Silver. And Joel was he was one of the handlers of all time, as they say in show business. He and Moranis had some meetings. He was making big movies in those days. The producer was. And so Rick was so taken with the guy that he said, we knew him a little bit. I knew him because he had come for a job at the CBS Page Corps, and I didn't hire him, which was the stupidest thing I ever did, because I might have written one of those dumb movies. But he was so taken with Joel Silver. He says, I want to do his character. And I said, great. You know, I said, but I want to do him on a talk show. So it was just this little man who's always angry and screams at you. And so we played a comedy team of Dennis and David, and we don't get a word in. He just doesn't allow anyone to speak, and he screams at you. And it's one of the funniest things you'll ever see. You can go ahead and Google it. It's called The Larry Siegel Show on SCTV.
Amazing. So you were in those sketches as well.
Yeah.
But what was Dick Blasucci, and for some reason this had just popped into my head, was Dick Blasucci on stage there in '82 when you received your Emmy, or was he?
Yeah, oh yeah, sure, yeah, oh sure, yeah.
I couldn't find him, because I was like, oh, there's
yeah, he was there. Yeah, he was a Second City guy. He came out of he was in the touring company, I think, in Chicago, out of Chicago.
You know what? Now that makes perfect sense, because I think I know his daughter Maria might have.
Maria, the lovely and hilarious Maria. We love.
Of course, I met her when she must have been, I don't know, 12, 13, or whenever she was hanging out at MADtv.
At the show, yeah.
At the show.
I knew her when she was about 3, I guess, or 4, and she punched me in the jaw. I'm not kidding you, and dislocated my jaw.
She just what?
Yep. Hilarious as it was, I had to do that thing because it was out of place. So I hated her for a long time.
Yeah. Well, I haven't connected with her lately, but it's I know that she was finding great success in LA, I believe, or maybe
she's a talented girl. She's a talented woman. She really is a talented woman, and she looks. Now that was a story about her mother before, so I hope she never sees this. But I really like her. I admire her. She's very good, very, very good.
Wonderful.
I went to an improv show at the upstairs room at the Improv. You know that place? They called it the Studio Lab or something like that.
Right. Yes.
And Dick and I went because we were going to go. I wanted to see Maria's group. They were very good. Mm-hmm. You probably know half the people in it, but they were very good. And so we saw them, and that was over. And I said to Dick, let's go. Because the last thing I want to do is spend the evening watching improvisers. I would rather go drink. And he said, yeah. He said, so just as we're going to go, when we're in the front, just as we're going to go, the next group comes out. And so he said, I can't, because he's a sweet guy. He doesn't want to ever hurt anyone's feelings. So he says, I can't do it. I can't leave until it's over. And so I sat with him and I said, there's nothing worse than bad improvisation. And that's what it was. It was a half an hour of the worst. I mean, I wanted to kill myself. It was just awful. But he was good enough then to buy me dinner. So, because I suffered.
Nice. I think that's I thought maybe you didn't want to stick around because you didn't want to run into Maria again and have her punch your lights out.
No, we were friends by that time.
Oh, good.
Yeah, and my jaw was back in place. So
nice, very nice. So I can't remember. I think I didn't prank Dick Blasucci, but we hung out there a lot. Even I
know if I needed to find you, I had to just find the craft service table. So just follow the munching. It was easy to find you.
Not follow the money. Follow the munching.
No. There was no money involved. That's why you were there.
Of course, because we knew that we could go and hang out there, get fed, drink, from our friends that were on the show, whether it was Ike Barinholtz or Bobby Lee, or Bobby, I don't think he had booze in his room, but we would use his dressing room to use the facilities because Ike would be like, no, you can't take a dump in here. Go to Bobby's. So, Bobby would walk in and then we are taking a dump in his. Poor Bobby. But
Bobby.
So whether we were on the show or not, I mean, I would do it every now and then. I was there every Friday, and you came up with that brilliant. Well, I mean, I just remember you going like, "The Chicago Mooch is on."
It was on big. Oh, yeah, Moochie. Yeah, you were the Moochie guy.
Yeah.
I didn't know your name was Vato. I thought it was Moochie.
But so I go up to Dick one day, and then I felt bad after I did it. I was like, oh, maybe that's why they don't hire me. I'm sure there was other reasons, but I was like, I have some reasons. That's what I heard.
Yeah.
I was like, Mr. Blasucci, I got to tell you something very important. And he goes, what? I go, and I wave him over to that freezer that had the ice cream in it. I go, you guys are out of Choco Tacos. And he just looked at me like, you're an idiot.
That's funny. I love that. I wish I had known that.
Yeah.
That's great.
And of course, in my mind, I'm like, oh, of course they don't want you on the show. Because I remember, I think at one point they were pitching me for something and they're like, he was just on the show last week. And that's when I was like, when I found that out, I was like, oh, well, why don't they just hire me? like almost that naivete of, that's how easy it is. Just like, well, I'm here anyways.
You were in the show a bunch of times, weren't you?
I was. Yeah. As like a glorified, I don't want to say glorified extra, but yeah, I was on the show.
Yeah, take out the word glorified because,
Yeah.
Well, I had a standing thing with the producer, though. I said, Vato is not in any of my sketches.
I don't think I ever was.
Even the Mexican sketch you weren't in, so.
Yeah, I had to, because you pretty much only wrote for the African American contingency.
Not only, but mainly because you could get on the show that way. Because the black actors were really being underutilized a lot, and the writers were not writing for them. I mean, generally, when I got there, the first thing I pitched and got on was Steven Seagal comes, played by Will. Steven Seagal is doing the new version of Kung Fu. And they booked David Carradine for the sketch. And while that was going on, Spears came up to me and he said, man, this is like fucking brilliant. And I said, thanks, I'm a brilliant guy. And he said, I have an idea. Will you write it with me? And I said, of course. He was the only actor, certainly at the beginning, who was interested in my helping him out. So it became a natural thing to the point where we were at a party somewhere, and he comes in with his, I don't know if it's his wife, his girlfriend, I don't know who she was, but he introduced me. He said, "This is my writer." And I thought, I better look into this. I better look into this, because I'm going to end up with an NAACP award, you know.
As you should, because
I should.
With Deborah Wilson and
Deborah wrote a lot for Deborah, wrote a lot for Aries. And then when Keegan came on, he was a Second City guy. So those guys, so like Richie Tallarico and the other Second City people who were there had a kind of, they all drew together because they knew each other from Chicago. And then there was the Groundling contingent, which was the hardest for me to deal with. You know, they were so insular. That was the first year there was a real challenge for me, because I hadn't written a sketch in 20 years since SCTV.
Of course. So and I
all that sitcom stuff, and then I was rounding the basis to 50 years of age. Had just worked on a show, had broken up a writing partnership, a 25-year writing partnership. And I was an unknown quality or quantity, I don't know which it is, in LA. I had to actually write spec scripts after having run 3 television shows. Yeah.
Wow. We kind of glossed all over that because, I mean, and I'm sorry, but I wish we had more time. And I would love to have you come back. And we still have, I got Joe Stapleton coming at 11:30, but we can always push him. He actually can't find the link.
He was a runner on the show.
What's that?
He was a runner on MADtv when I was there.
He was. And it's, so he showed up at my cigar shop in Vegas one day. And, I don't know, 5, 6, 8 years ago, something. And, 2012 or 13, maybe 10 years ago. And he was like, "Do you remember me?" I meet so many people in Vegas, hundreds a day sometimes. But he looks so familiar. I'm like, "Yes." I go, "Wait, from LA?" He goes, "Yes." Because I think between him and Josh Myers, they're the ones that took me to this Valentine's Day party where I met a lot of pretty girls from USC. So I was always very grateful. But I think he was the connection. So he then says, he goes, I used to be a runner. I used to work. I was a runner on
PA, yeah,
MADtv. I was like, oh my god! And in the meantime, he'd gone to London. He'd become famous poker commentator.
Yeah.
You know his whole story. Yeah. But so he and I have just stayed in touch, and we were actually trying to do something in Vegas in Binions with him and Norm Macdonald when he was touring with him. Years ago. Now I understand why that didn't quite work out. But he Norm ruined that. I'm just kidding.
What an asshole!
I know. Yeah, it's that darkness, man. That's somewhere where I think our minds thrive, and that's how we deal with shit.
How you deal with it otherwise? Norm was I only met him once and just thought he was the most lovely man I'd ever met. It just so genuinely soft-spoken and very smart and very big-hearted, And when I heard of all of these recent comedy deaths, he's the one that made me the saddest because of who he was as a person. Although I was friends with Gilbert Gottfried.
Sure.
And that one hurt too, because people didn't realize what a little fine heart he had, what a good guy he was, and they just see the bombastic side of him, which was bombastic. I mean, the Aristocrats is one of the amazing moments of show business history, is him telling that story. But Norm. That made me sad.
Well, I mean, it's amazing. And I met Norm through Mo Collins because we would have these swim parties at her place there in Valley Village, and I remember he was one of the guys that would be there sometimes. So Norm.
Yeah, he was that kind of guy who would be places sometimes.
Yeah,
yeah, he was that guy. No, I'm serious. He was that guy. When I met him, he was just there, you know, somebody's house.
It's yeah. And he was so
kind of a lonely guy, you know.
I think so, because, and I think Joe and I, maybe you've discussed that with Joe as well. I don't know if you have, but I think that was kind of the consensus, and it was always hard to, you know, to nail him down and go like, hey. But I also understand now what was going on in the past final years of his life. Who wants to then have to do another show, you know, for what? It's so that's and Gilbert. We were both on a project together with David Faustino, who was Bud Bundy. Corin Nemec, Parker Lewis Can't Lose, did a web series early, you know, 12 years ago, called Starving, STAR-Ving, about child actors that are now starving.
Right.
Gilbert was in it, and I had a small part in it, and whatnot. So it was a great project, a fun project. I think it's still out there, I'm sure. But you also worked on Night Court.
Yeah.
And produced a Night Court. And see, I have all these other questions, so I really hope that we can do a part 2 because Harry Anderson also it's such a big like influence as far as comedy goes, and I mean I love that show. And then to meet you and then find out that your involvement.
Yeah, I was there the first 2 seasons with Stu, and we looked at each other after the seasons were over, and we said, "This thing's going nowhere. Let's get out of here." So we went to a bunch of places, and then came back 5 years later and took the show over and ran it for the last 2 seasons. It's going again. They're putting a new one out.
I saw that. Do you have any involvement with that?
No. John's in it. He's back to playing Dan Fielding. And Melissa Roch, I don't know how you say her name, from some show that I don't know, is playing Harry's daughter. I know that.
Ah, wonderful. Okay.
I talked about Harry all day. I loved Harry.
I could have. I would. That's a man I would have loved to have met. You know,
you would have liked him. He was a sweetheart. He could be a pain in the ass, but he was. Who can't? You know. Yeah.
We all can. Yeah. And wow. So that's wonderful. And so I guess maybe catch us up what you've been up to. After we broke up after MADtv, because I also left around 2006 or 2007 because that's when I met my future now ex-wife, and she was like, "What are you doing? Why are you just hanging out?" Like, and she pulled me away from it, and I kind of wish she hadn't.
You say now ex-wife?
Yeah, we ended up getting divorced.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I don't know if you
I'm only doing this to meet her.
What? I'll give you her number. Good luck. In 30 years, you'll be like, you were right.
Oh, Moochie got a big joke in.
There we go. I know you've got some exciting projects going on. Oh, and I read your script, and it's, I don't know if you can talk about it or want to talk about it, but I loved your script.
Thank you.
Anything else
now? Because, or do you want to hold it? We'll do another one.
It's, do you want to just maybe touch on it? And then we can do another one. I would love to do it. I mean, I'll do this on a weekly basis with you because
I won't, but it's fair. I understand your point of view. I hope you understand mine. So I did there's a guy named Russ Meyer. Let me set this. So it's 1969. Hollywood is in the toilet. Nobody's going to the movies because they're making all these movies that don't relate to 1969, which is following 68 was the 2 most tumultuous years until maybe 2020 in America. I mean, you had a nation torn apart over the Vietnam War. You had Paul left. He's so bored.
No, I'm still here.
I don't blame you.
Wake me up when this is over. No, I'm still here. I just have to text to Joe Stapleton. But please, I'm still.
Oh, Joe. Yeah, bring Joe on too. Now I feel like I'm talking to myself. I'm going to look at Mark and Seth and Marwan and Tiffany and all those names at the bottom of this. Hi, everybody. What is that? Did I get the answer wrong? No, I can't. Now you have no, I can't hear you. I can't hear you. I'm not complaining. I'm just telling.
Oh, good. You're so funny. I think that's the party sign. But if those sound effects bother you, I can always also turn them off. You know, the clap.
Oh, no, I love them.
Okay. I thought you would appreciate it.
Fantastic. They're like the best sound effects I've heard all day.
Okay. I hope this doesn't end the show. So I'm just gonna. I might be off camera for just a second as I text Joe Stapleton.
Why don't you? Why do you have to text? Why do you have to get off? Just stay on, and we'll watch that.
Okay,
that could be fascinating.
Perfect. You're gonna just see my face, like.
Yeah, I want to see you doing that thing. Yeah, yeah. Hey, Joe, I can't get Chris off the fucking show. He won't stop talking. He's such an asshole. You were right. That's the sound effects from Andy's day when I was a kid.
Can you see my face as I'm doing this?
Yes.
How about now?
It looks great. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, okay, great.
No, you're frozen. You're frozen now. This is so much fun. If I had a watch, I'd be looking at it. Well, Seth and Bukalau and Marwan, Mark, all of you, thank you for being here, and hope you enjoyed yourselves. Because, come on, let's face it, the ticket costs nothing. So how can you complain? Why? The first two guys are crying. Tiffany's crying, and Mark's clapping. Everybody's clapping and crying. And Vato is frozen like a mosquito in amber. You would see that in the National Geographic when you weren't looking at the native ladies' tits. I love that laugh. It's like out of an insane asylum. It sounds like a mental institution. What's behind you there?
My laptop, because I had a note and I meant to do it more discreetly, but since the show's already gone off the rails, because there were some other TV shows I wanted to talk about, but let's finish the story on that you were telling.
Oh, on Russ Meyer. So Russ Meyer was a filmmaker. He invented the American nudie film. He came out of World War II as a member of the Army Photographic Corps, or whatever it was called, Signal Corps, and he couldn't. After the war, he couldn't get arrested in Hollywood. The union, the Cinematographers Union, shut out all the Army veterans, all the veterans. So they didn't allow any of them into the union, so they couldn't work on union movies. So most of them just packed up and went home, and Russ said, no, I'm going to stay here and I'm going to make independent films. And he did. He made, I think, somewhere in the 20-some independent films, most of them with women with enormous breasts. And that was his that was his thing. I mean, he movies called Super Vixen and Revenge of Super Vixen, and it was always about women who were empowered, and it seemed very sexist, but it wasn't. It was oddly empowering for women. So he had a career doing that. And in 1969, he, as I said, Hollywood's in the toilet. Every studio hires a maverick director. Warner Brothers hired Robert Downey Sr., who made Putney Swope and a couple of other fine movies. And Robert Altman was one of them. And so 20th Century Fox, in their wisdom, hires the guy that invents the American nudist film to be their maverick director. And he gets assigned to do a sequel to a movie called Valley of the Dolls, which had been huge box office for 20th Century Fox. It was just a terrible movie, but it did very, very well at the box office. So they wanted a sequel to it, and Russ signed on to do it, and he hired as his screenwriter a 23-year-old Chicago-based newspaper writer who was a third-string movie critic at the Chicago Sun-Times, whose name was Roger Ebert, the famous Roger Ebert. So it's a story of these two guys and Russ's wife, Eve, who is a fabulous character, making this film at 20th Century Fox in 1970, and it is a scream, as you know. You're frozen, or are you just so bored?
No, I'm fascinated. I'm fascinated by the story.
Yeah, it's a great story. It really is a great story. And the movie was horrible. I mean, the movie they made was awful. But that's not the point. The point was that this guy was as I said in the script, he was the Grandma Moses of titty movies. I mean, he was like a genius at those things. And he tried to become a straight director and it didn't work. So he went back to doing the titty movies.
Wow. Now, but this is a story that you've created? I mean, I know it's based in reality.
Yeah, it's based in reality, yeah. Well, it's based on a true story. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, based on a true story. I mean, the movie was made. Ebert and Meyer worked together. All of that stuff happened, but the art comes from me. My point of view on it, and very proud of the script. There's only a couple of others that I think are better than that I've done. So.
As you should, and take it for what it's worth. Coming from me, I thought it was brilliant. So thank you for sharing that with me, and I hope that it gets made.
I'll
soon.
send you another one to read that'll knock your socks off if you're wearing any. I'm not
wearing socks or pants, so
I'm wearing 2 pairs of pants. I'll make it up for you. Yeah.
Thank you. And then of course, next time I want to touch base on. I don't know if she was your ex-girlfriend, but you worked with her on Mallory. Was that the name of the show? Was there a young Jennifer Aniston?
My girlfriend. I was 41 and she was 19. And how did you make that connection? Yes, I have a great story about that. I mean, a great story about that.
Would you mind if I invited Mr. Joe Stapleton up?
No, I don't want to see him.
Okay, we'll leave him in the audience.
That mental institution laughter is really great.
If you don't like it, we can.
I love it. I told you that. Will you listen to me? I'm sorry.
Well, you're a comedian, and sometimes comedians say things in a sarcastic tone, and I don't pick up on it. So, because I also wanted to talk about Homeboys in Outer Space.
Oh, you don't want to miss a minute of that. Why don't you let me go? Because I'm like, how long can I do this? It's enough. You always leave the audience wanting more, and they didn't want more after about 25 minutes ago.
Well, what's the Jennifer Aniston? Jesus. Who's
Giuseppe Gesalice?
Hey, what's up? I actually really believed Chris when he said not to let me on. I pressed the wrong button.
Sure.
No, I meant it.
No, I know you did. That's why I was trying to cancel.
Oh, I love you, Joe. You know that.
Look, I love you too. You were a big influence early on in my life, and were one of the first people to ever reach out to me and say, "Hey, kid, what do you got? Show me something." And you don't get those opportunities very often, especially at the time. I believed in keeping my head down and not really self-promoting. And I wish I had started self-promoting sooner, though.
Well, you're doing a good job of it now.
Oh, yeah, I'm a total shill fest now.
You're a tool, man. I love it. You're a shill fest. I like that. Yeah, but you can't, it's like I said to Paul before, you can't be shy and be in show business.
It's a really bad combo, especially early on. Because
you're not in show business, then you're just some guy standing over there. So you got to get it. Hi, I'd like to, you got to do that.
I think
I love that sound. It just makes
I have to learn how to do that better because sometimes I feel like I don't put myself out there enough.
Paul, you're pretty good at it, I'd say.
Yeah, you're pretty good at it too.
Yeah.
I mean, I had cancer and I went back to smoking cigars because of you.
Oh, thanks, man.
That's a lot. Does that sound like a mental institution to you, Joe? Can you hear that?
Yes, I can hear it. Yeah, it sounds like people laughing with like a gun to their head, maybe.
All right, let me go so you can talk to him.
Well, I'm gonna, we'll end the show and then we'll restart the next one because this is 2 shows. Did you want to quickly tell your Jennifer Aniston story, or should we save it for leave him wanting more?
You hear my dog? My dog hates this now. He says, "I saw this. This is fucking boring."
Yeah, the thing is, I've never heard the Jennifer Aniston story, and the dog probably has. Can you do it one more time?
Yeah, you know what? That's the truth, and that's a good observation. He's heard it many times, and he hates it. You want to hear it? I'll give it to you one more time. All right.
Yeah.
So we're at Warner Brothers, 1989. We're in a new development deal. We have sold 2 or 3 pilots at the networks, and of course they all go nowhere because that's the way of the business. But so we're there. We're in a fairly good sized deal, and Harvey, what's his name, was the president of Warner Brothers Television.
You can't just what's his name. You can't just what's his name Harvey's now, Chris. It's either Weinstein or somebody else.
No, it's not Weinstein.
Okay, great. Moving on.
No. I wish it was because it'd be a more interesting story. I walked up there, he's jacking off. He's in the shower. So is that what you wanted to hear? Because I said it. So anyway, so he says, "Can you boys come up to see me?" And we go to see him, and he says, "We have a 6-episode deal at Fox TV, which was brand new, 1989. I think The Simpsons and 1 or 2 other shows, Cops and something else.
Married with Children."
Yeah, it just started like a year before. The guy said, "We have this 6 overall," and it was this guy came in to do it, and Fox hated the script, and they hated him, and they hated the whole idea. So we still have the commitment, and we'd like you to do it. And we thought, you know what? We've never run a show. This could be a good opportunity. It's like spring training or the minor leagues or something like that, because it was Fox. No one watches Fox. Nobody. So we went and we met with the cast, with the star, the person who had the commitment. It was Maya Bialik, and she was 10 years old or whatever she was. I mean, she was a little kid, and she was lovely. She had just come off I think it was called The Rose with Bette Midler. She played Bette Midler as a child, and it was a big hit movie. Barbara Hershey and Bette Midler and Maya. And so Maya, off that, Fox wants her to do a sitcom. Duh. So we go to meet with her mother, and we say, yeah, Warner Brothers would like us to do this. This is the idea we have. So we had to pitch to her mother, which is really weird. So we pitched to her mother, and her mother goes, "Oh, I love that," and Fox liked it, and Warner Brothers liked it. So it didn't matter to Warner Brothers; they just wanted the money. So we wrote a pilot, and then the pilot got picked up, and we were going to do the 6 episodes. And the president of the Fox Television Network, whose name I will not mention, although it rhymes with Peter Charnin, we go to meet with him and with the executives, and we have our casting person, and she goes and casts. So we bring the kids in with some kids in it, and there's Pam Brule gets the part as the mom, and the dad gets cast, and we're down to the bad sister, the bad sister. And who's the bad sister? Well, we read for the bad sister. We read about 35, 40 actresses for it, and it was just not happening. It was written too oddly sophisticated for this terrible show, but it was just oddly sophisticated, and nobody could quite get the nuance of the character. So we have to change the character because it's just not going to ever find anybody. And then 19-year-old Jennifer Aniston comes in to read, and she hits it out of the park. I mean, she got all the nuance. She got all of the. She got all of it. She just got it, and you could see she loved it. And she had never had a job. She was just out of. She was in college. I mean, I think she did some work in New York, but she had never been on a network television show. Not that Fox was a network then, but kind of. So we loved her so much. Our casting person said, we have to bring Quasimodo with us. Now, that was like you bring, that guy to make sure the person you want gets the part. Well, so it's now time to read Jennifer and Quasimodo, and Jennifer reads first, and he could not have been less interested. He's checking through his snail mail, he's looking through what does he have any bobby pins? I mean, he's just not paying any attention whatsoever. And I'm like, what the fuck? And she's so good and she's great. So she leaves and he goes, eh. We were amazed. Then Quasimodo comes in. He said, I love her. She's great. So we're like, how do we, this is awful. So we leave his office and Jennifer is waiting for us. 19-year-old kid waiting for us down at the end of the hall. And I have to tell her she didn't get the part. And she begins to cry. And I don't know what to do, I don't know what to do. I have children, but they're little. I never had to do. Kids, you haven't been cast. That hasn't happened. So our assistant, a fine human being by the name of Karen Heckler, says, I have an idea. So she takes brown-haired Jennifer to what they used to call the beauty parlor. And she has her hair henna'd. And we bring her in again the next day. And she's brilliant. And he says, she's got the part.
Oh, my God.
True story. True story.
It's a great ending unless it's being told from the perspective of Quasimodo.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. Quasimodo was already on one of their other shows.
Oh,
he didn't even notice. He didn't even know who he's on. He's got 4 shows. She's on one of them. He's never seen her before. She's great. We should put her in something. I think she's in The Commanders or whatever the name of the show was that she was on.
You know that I've been the Quasimodo before on a poker show. They brought me in one time and auditioned me to scare the fuck out of the 2 old guys that had the job so they would pay them less.
So you get it. You get it. Yeah.
I've been there.
Yeah. That's a true story. Yeah. Yeah.
Brilliant. Brilliant. Brilliant.
All right. I want to go now. Joe, I'm glad to see you.
That's nice to see you, Chris. Hopefully we can link up on the East Coast, one of these days. It would be nice to see you.
Yeah, I would love that. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
All right, cool. I'll track it down.
Before we go, let me give you my social security number.
Hey, don't forget the expiration date.
Oh,
his?
On the credit card, not. I mean, they don't put that on your. They don't put that on your social security card yet. I don't think they don't know the exact
Well, if
day.
they do, I think I'm past the day. All right, you're a genius. Go be funny, and Vato, you're a good man.
Hang on for 1 second. I just want to say thank you so much. I want to thank everyone that's here. I'm going to end the show, and then if you're welcome to hang out in the audience, or if you feel like
no, I'm done.
So I'm going to end the show so I can start the new show in about 4 minutes with Mr. Joe Stapleton. Thank you, Chris, for being here. I appreciate it.
Stay tuned for Joe. He is funny.
Oh, thank you, Chris. Nice to see you.
Goodbye.
So goodbye. Thank you, guys. Thank you all.
Bye, everybody. Bye, Tiffany. Bye, Mark. Bye, Paul. Bye, Seth. Bye, Bukaka, or whatever your name is. All right. God bless you. Goodbye. I'm leaving. Goodbye.
Bye.
I'm trying to leave.
He's still not gone.
How do I leave?
We should we should watch.
Hold on.
Let's see how this
Just
pans
the
out.
lake. That's where I
Just
live.
smash your phone.
There's the lake. Goodbye.
Let's see how this pans out. Okay, you know what, Joe? I think I'm gonna have to end the show or get rid of Chris. There we go. Okay.
He's back again. It's amazing.
I told you, now you can't leave. Bye.
Well, I'm going to give you a tour. Hold on.
Oh, okay.
This is where I live. I live by the lake here. See? The lake. That's the buddy.
This is good lake music.
All right, I got to go.
Okay, bye.
And ese hombre holding up the bottle. Look a little closer, cigar and Moscato. An actor in improv coming from Chicago. Outdoor, make way for Paul Vato.